Welcome back to Y News, and for the news abroad, here's Stephanie C. live from Hong Kong. Good evening, Stephanie.
Good evening, William. An explosion at a pesticide plant in eastern China has killed 47 people and injured more than 600. The blast occurred on Thursday at the Zhenjiagang Industrial Park in the city of Yancheng in Jiangsu province, and the fire was finally brought under control at 3 a.m. on Friday. Survivors were taken to 16 hospitals, with 640 people being treated for injuries, including 32 of them being critically injured. The fire at a plant had spread to neighboring factories, and children at a kindergarten in the vicinity were also injured in the blast. According to reports, the cause of the explosion is under investigation, and the company has been cited and fined for work safety violations in the past. A Florida man could be jailed for life for criminal charges in connection with the mailing of bombs to U.S. President Donald Trump's critics. Kat Carriedo will tell us why.
Cesar Sayak, the Florida man suspected of a mail bombing campaign targeting critics of President Donald Trump, has pleaded guilty in federal court. Sayak, 57, entered his plea before U.S. District Judge Jed Rakoff in Manhattan Federal Court. Among the charges were using a weapon of mass destruction, mailing explosives with an intent to kill or injure, and transporting explosives across state lines. Sayak, a part-time pizza delivery man, grocery worker, and former stripper, was arrested in October after a 4-day manhunt. At the time, Sayak had been living in a white van plastered with pro-Trump stickers, the slogan CNN socks, and images of Democratic leaders with Red Cross hairs over their faces. Prosecutors accused Sayak of mailing bombs through the U.S. Postal Service to Democrats, such as former U.S. Presidents Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, former Vice President Joe Biden, and Senators Cory Booker of New Jersey and Kamala Harris of California. The bombs were sent in manila envelopes lined with bubble wrap and consisted of plastic 6-inch pipes packed with explosive material and wired to small clocks and batteries. According to prosecutors, all were intercepted before reaching their intended targets, and none exploded. In an emotional statement, Sayak apologized for his actions and stated he had created the explosive devices using materials including firework powder, the Washington Post reported. His trial had been scheduled for July. The 56-year-old has been held without bail in New York since his arrest on October 26, 2018. Kat Carriedo, UNTV News on Rescue, USA.
Brazil's former President Michel Temer was detained as part of the sweeping anti-corruption investigation known as Car Wash. Jovic Bermas will tell us why.
Brazil's ex-President Michel Temer was the leader of a criminal organization involved in embezzlement and money laundering over decades, the federal prosecutor alleged Thursday, after the former leader was arrested as part of a sprawling anti-corruption probe. Police detained Temer, the 78-year-old predecessor of far-right President Jair Bolsonaro, in Sao Paulo and transferred him to Rio de Janeiro. Temer, who was president from 2016 to 2018, was hit with corruption charges during his presidency regarding management contracts of several ports in Sao Paulo. Those charges were blocked by his allies in Congress. His arrest was imminent, however, after he left office because he was no longer afforded certain legal protections. Police said on Thursday that Temer's arrest stems from new charges related to crimes of corruption, criminal organizations, and money laundering in the management of a nuclear plant in Rio.
Comparing the contracts signed between the company Arch Plant and public bodies, there is an increase in the number of contracts during the times when Michel Temer held public positions. It is possible to make a comparison and verify the influence that Michel Temer had on contracts carried out by this company. It is clear that this is a branch of a criminal group which has been operating for 40 years to this day.
Temer has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing. Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, who is now in Santiago for a meeting with South American leaders, speaks on the case.
Justice is for everyone, and everyone is responsible for their actions.
Since launching in March 2014, the car wash investigation has led to the jailing more than 150 people, including top businessmen and politicians, and ex-President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. Jovic Bermas, UNTV News and Rescue.
The passwords of millions of Facebook users were accessible by up to 20,000 employees of the social network. Security researcher Brian Krebs broke the news about data protection failures, which saw up to 600 million passwords stored in plain text. The passwords that were exposed could date back to 2012, he said. In a statement, Facebook said it had now resolved a glitch that had stored the passwords on its internal network. Krebs said a Facebook source had told him about security failures that had let developers create applications that logged and stored the passwords without encrypting them. Commenting on Krebs' story, Facebook engineer Scott Renfro said an internal investigation started after Facebook had uncovered the logs had not revealed any signs of misuse. In public comments, Facebook said it had discovered the issue in January as part of a routine security review. And its investigation showed that most of the people affected were users of Facebook Lite, which tends to be used in nations where net connections are sparse and low. And those are the news from the other parts of the globe. Back to you, William.
Thank you very much, Stephanie C., reporting live from Hong Kong. There is no need to seek for government permission in filing a communication to the International Criminal Court over the alleged crimes against humanity committed by China. Former Foreign Affairs Secretary Albert Del Rosario meantime said they want Chinese President Xi Jinping to be arrested for ordering destruction of natural resources and endangering livelihood of Filipino fishermen. Mai Bermudez will tell us why.
The Philippines' former top graft buster Conchita Carpio Morales and former Foreign Affairs Secretary Albert Del Rosario want to hold Chinese President Xi Jinping and other Chinese officials accountable over the alleged crimes against humanity committed by China. They said their request for probe was personally transmitted to the International Criminal Court, or ICC, on March 15, or 2 days before the Philippines' official withdrawal from the Rome Statute. They said their complaint was based on China's move to claim the source of livelihood of Filipino fishermen and destruction of resources on the islands in the region. They also want Xi Jinping arrested.
Lead to a warrant of arrest, in which case the warrant of arrest can be served by any one of 123 state parties, and they can compel Mr. Xi Jinping or the idea is to compel him to go back to The Hague to be able to face the charges that are being brought against him.
Morales also said the Philippine government's nod is not needed.
For us to seek permission or to advise the administration that we were filing this communication to the ICC in light of developments.
Maritime law expert Professor J. Batong Bakal said a question of jurisdiction is at hand.
Merong malaking obstacle dyan yung fact na hindi naman ever naging miyembro ng ICC ang China. Tapos pangalawa na yung tayo, nag-withdraw pa tayo, no? Kasi supposedly dapat yung partido dyan ay involved yung mga state, no?
But Senator Laila De Lima thanked Del Rosario and Morales for calling the attention of the international community.
It's a bold, unprecedented move, but it's very laudable. It's in fact a master stroke. Yan, nagpapakita na bakit kailangan manatili tayo sa ICC, kasi kung ganyan na foreign aggressor ang involved, saan tayo pupunta? Kundi sa isang independent international body with universal jurisdiction.
But despite reports of harassment, blocking fishermen from navigating, and destruction of reefs by China, there are other obstacles Batong Bakal sees.
Hindi siya nag-involve ng tinatawag na use of force in international law, no? Yung aktibong pag-atake at paggamit talaga ng dahas na. Wala yung elemento na yon, no? Tapos in terms of injuries, hindi naman natin makita, no, na mayroong physical injury talaga na marami. Kahit nangyari yun siguro sa Vietnam, pero sa atin wala namang na ganong na-report, no? If at all, mga threat lang, mga banta, no? Usapin na ito na obviously ang concern ay environment, ang concern ay yung loss of fishery resources, yung pag-regulate sana, paghinto sana ng illegal fishing sa ating EEZ. Yung mga ganun, pwede yung pag-usapan sa mga ibang bodies within the UN system. Kunyari sa General Assembly na yung
Carpio Morales said they did not include President Rodrigo Duterte in their communication since preliminary examinations in his controversial drug war is already in place. Mai Bermudez, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
It is inevitable that during the election campaign, politicians will experience funny moments, and some of those scenes have been the talk of the town. Here's why from Monhok Son.
It is election time once again, and many politicians are vying for the public's vote. Wherever a candidate goes, he relentlessly waves to and shakes hands with the people. But as election candidates campaign in cities and towns, it is inevitable they may experience some embarrassments. Hugpo ng Pagbabago Party candidate Amy Marcos wanted to shake hands with some people. But when she extended her arm to shake hands, it did not work, even in an attempt to high-five. Liberal Party candidate Erin Tañada is being teased by netizens now because of the way he shook the hand of an elderly woman in a market. It seemed that Tañada was disgusted because the woman was selling slippery, slimy fish. But Tañada replied to his bashers, it is a campaign strategy and is now the logo of his campaign poster. Let's talk this Facebook post, which is now the talk of the town. A public utility driver transformed General Bato's campaign poster into a seat cover. One of his passengers got surprised when she opened her leg. She could not believe what she saw, the face of General Bato between her legs. But this is nothing new with General Bato. He often does this, like in this scene with Congressman Manguda Datu. Let's head to the city of Manila, where Mayor Estrada was giving away ang pao. But this voter was disturbing, so instead of an ang pao, he got a punch from the mayor. Former Senator Bong Revilla was giving away t-shirts during one of his campaigns. But just what others said, you can't please everybody, so they shouted, Just recently, some senatoriables were invited to a forum in Cebu where one student stole the scene. The student debated and questioned Attorney Larry Gadon and surely got a reply from the aspiring senator.
Lying, you are just ignorant.
Okay.
Don't debate with me here. No, I'll debate with you anytime, but not here. There are rules. I want to follow the rules here.
Yes.
You should go out.
But it seems that no one can forget what former Senator Mar Rojas did when he acted as a traffic law enforcer a few years ago. President Duterte attacked what the politician did and said that Rojas should work as a traffic aid instead.
Hoy Rojas, ug meron na imong abilidad nag-traffic aid ka na lang unta. Sige kang mag-traffic kana sa imong.
Attorney Larry Gadon also replied and asked Rojas what kind of traffic sign he was using.
Ano ba ibig sabihin nitong traffic sign na to? Ganyan. Ano klaseng traffic sign yan, no?
There are only a few months left before the elections, and political candidates are hoping for the Filipinos' votes. Remember to vote wisely and vote for the candidate whom you love. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue.
A tiny store in New York is your one-stop shop for all sorts of rare and wonderful buttons. Here's why from Nina Armilio.
boxes, and shelves, bursting with buttons. Tender Buttons opened in an old button store in 1964 at 143 East, 62nd Street, New York, New York. Millicent Safro, one of the shop owners now in her 70s, said they traveled the world to find rarities or little treasures to put into what began as a button collection.
Started quite by accident. My partner Diane Epstein, who's no longer living, bought a lot of buttons on as an art jaunt. Not knowing what to do with them, we rented the shop. And then we were in the button business.
In the cabinets are collectible buttons too, some of which are valued in the thousands of dollars. There are buttons in the shop from countries like England, Ireland, France, Italy, Russia, Egypt, Japan, and a lot more. From New York-based fashion designers, fashion students, and home sewers to international button shoppers, customers enter what seems to be a tiny kingdom of buttons.
Just such amazing, beautiful buttons. You know, the antique buttons, and it's like a museum, and they're just as beautiful. It's like you walk and look in the window, and they're just as beautiful now as they were then. So it's wonderful to see some place being able to sustain itself and keep going all these years because everything changes so much.
Miss Safro considers buttons an art form, which is easy to understand, as a trip to Tender Buttons to view her vast collection is like visiting a beautifully curated museum.
Each button had its charm, its quality, its aesthetic, its material, its period, and we began writing that on the boxes so that when you came to buy a humble shirt button, you got the entire history of that button, where it was made.
The shop is named by its owners for a Gertrude Stein book of poetry. Nina Armilio, UNTV, News and Rescue.
And those are the reasons behind the news this March 22nd, 2019. On behalf of Angelo Castro III, I am William Theo, but before we close, we will recap with today's significant sound bites. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Good evening.
I am officially announcing the permanent termination of our talks between the government panel and the Communist Party of the Philippines. I am no longer entertaining any interventions or maybe persuasions in this democratic state of the Republic of the Philippines. My sense is that you can maybe talk to the next president of this republic one day.
Ang kaliwadam that we are going to start was conceived during the Marcos administration, and it's only now that's going to happen.
Pag naitayo po ang Dambuhalang Dam na siyam na yan, wala na po kaming pupuntahang lugar.
Dry season na po talaga.
Kumpara sa iba na dekada na ang binilang, ngunit nanggulat sila sa mga tagapakinig sa paraan at estilo nilang kaibig-ibig. Nasapul agad nila ang pulso ng masa, di lang ng mga sosyal at may pihikang panlasa. Kahit saan mang dako, stasyon nila ay bukang bibig, sa musika at tinig nilang nakakakilig. Para sa ating best radio station FM, Wish FM 107.5,